go. All right, welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Edge. This is an RPG and gaming news podcast. My name is Hat,
And I am Stan.
And I'm Lane.
and today we are going to be talking about basically we're going to be getting into what we've been playing this week, and then we want to touch briefly on the Mario and Luigi developer Alpha Dreams closing. None of us have really played the Mario and Luigi games, but we have a few thoughts to share about them closing in general. And then we're going to get into all the Pokemon Sword and Shield news. So there's the 24-hour live stream, all the various updates regarding the game, and then the 16 gems mistranslation from Game Informer. We want to touch on that. And then we're going to get into some of the Apple Arcade RPGs. So Apple Arcade is a new business model for mobile gaming. It looks very promising, no microtransactions, that type of thing. And, they're coming out with all these games, like 70 games right out the gate. And there's a handful of RPGs on there, some of them by a well-known name. So we're going to get into our thoughts basically on the trailers. And we don't really have too much information other than that, but we want to kind of put it out there and let you all see what's out there and kind of make your own decisions. And then we have a question from Decoy Manta on Discord who says, have you guys ever liked a game a lot as a kid and then gone back to it as an adult and realized it kind of sucked? So that'll be interesting to get into. But to address the elephant in the room, Eric is not here today. He's getting married and he's going to be out for the next 2 episodes. He's doing all sorts of marriage stuff and all that fun stuff. So obviously, hope he is having a relaxing and enjoying couple of weeks. But filling in this week, we have Lane. Now, Lane, if you all are familiar on our Discord server, he's regularly on there. He comments a lot of times on just various things we got with the channel, or just kind of taking part in the conversations we have on our Discord server. But he's also started his own YouTube channel where he's been doing a lot of game pickups and just thoughts on various RPGs. So, Lane, do you want to kind of give everyone some information on your channel? What's the channel called, and if kind of rundown of your channel? I know I kind of touched it a little bit there, but maybe you can do a little bit better job than I can.
Yeah. So I'm Lane. My YouTube channel is named HemiDodge426. It's the gamer tag I've had for over 10 years, so it's just kind of stuck. And basically, I'm still kind of in an experimental phase with my channel, but basically what I do is I do vlog style videos where I talk about uh, well, lately I've been going to a lot of old video game stores and doing a lot of pickups. So I will do a video here now and then showing the games that I've picked up recently. And also I like to review games. Oh, it's hard. I shouldn't say review. Kind of, it's more of a impromptu thoughts of the game right after I finish it. The only real structure to it is the first half I try to keep spoiler free, and then the second half I get into the nitty gritty spoilers. But yeah, still experimental, but basically I'm kind of, my target audience is sort of veteran JRPG players. I'm hoping to kind of show a new from the perspective of somebody playing these old games for the first time and kind of my initial impressions of them, as well as kind of open up the conversation to what games from my recent pickup should I be playing sooner rather than later, and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Um, I've actually been checking out a lot of your videos, and you actually put out a fair amount, like on a pretty regular basis. So I can't see any way you wouldn't be successful. So
well,
very,
thank
very
you.
cool. Yeah. I'm jealous of all those game pickups you've been doing. It's been inspiring me to go hit the the retro stores and see what I can find.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good and a bad thing, I suppose. Bad on my wallet, but good for my shelf. So
Yeah. You know what it is though, when picking up games is I find that I'm easily able to talk myself into stuff. Like I'll look at it and be like, well, this is more than I was wanting to spend, but they're having a sale where if I buy 2, I'll get 1 free. So
right,
realistically, like I'm saving money in the future, or
exactly.
something like that.
That's
Or go ahead.
Yep. I was just gonna say that's what I tell myself so I can sleep at night.
Yeah. 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 It's rough.
Yep.
Um, so cool. Very cool. I went ahead and posted a link in the description. I'll make sure that's there after the video so y'all can go check out his channel, subscribe. That way you can catch further reviews and pickups and anything else he puts out there. So y'all should go check that out. But moving on, I have to give a quick shout out to RPG Fan. They're our media partner. So basically, RPG Fan, we're assisting with the various things along with their website and giving them game footage and stuff over the next year or so, however long this relationship lasts. And in return, we're just going to be pushing their website out there as a resource. We use them all the time. So rpgfan.com, they have game reviews, soundtrack reviews. They have 2 RPG podcasts listed on there. Aside from our own podcast on there, they have Random Encounter, which does RPG news, in-depth discussions, things like that. And then we have Retro Encounter on there as well, where it's basically a weekly dive into retro RPGs. They discuss one game a month, and for the entire month, they just kind of chronicle their journey on that podcast. So make sure you go check them out. They have a YouTube page as well where they're doing some more video reviews. They're trying to push that content a little bit more. They've been really, really good with us and kind of showed us some ways we can restructure how we handle information as well. So we're learning a lot from them. So we'd really appreciate if you guys go check out rpgfan.com. Moving on, though, what have we all been playing this week? Lane, since you're our guest, you want to just kind of start us off here?
You bet. So I've been playing kind of back and forth between 3 games lately. The first is Xenogears. It's my first playthrough of the game. I am playing it on the PlayStation 3 from the PS1 store.
Nice.
I'm probably 6 hours into the game. And so far I love it. The opening of the game really grabbed me and yeah, I can't say enough good things about it. It's super mysterious. I like that it comes at the it's like an actual adult protagonist in a JRPG. I
Mm,
like that.
yeah, me too.
Um and then it's cool because you got the standard combat, and then you also get to like they have the mech style combat, which I haven't quite figured out yet. Um, I find that I tend to run out of fuel a lot, and that kind of it hinders my experience. But I'll get the hang of it eventually. Um, and yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is the other game I'm playing right now. I'm kind of mixed on that game at the moment. I think that I enjoyed the first Xenoblade quite a bit more. Um, I don't know. I just kind of at times it kind of feels like a fan service game for Xenoblade Chronicles fans. Although I do think that the battle system is definitely a step up from the previous game. It's a little bit more intuitive. The Like I know on the first game it's kind of a pain because you have to it's all like in a linear bar, right? And you have to go back and forth to select your skills, where on this one it's just they're mapped to single buttons on the controller. I'd like
Mm,
that. The thing another thing I don't really like about the game is if you guys have played it, you have to collect all these different blades, which are basically these sort of your weapons, but at the same time, they're also kind of a character that is connected to you, and they have different elemental affinities and whatnot. And honestly, I don't really like that about it. I've never been really a fan of the whole. I hate I don't
I
know if monster
gotcha.
collecting is the right. Yeah, I'm not
Gotcha.
really into. Yeah, I'm not really into the whole monster collecting aspect of games. Like I know World of Final Fantasy has it. I mean, I like Pokemon games, but any game that is not like targeted as a monster collecting game and they add that as a side element, I don't really enjoy it as much because it seems like a chore. And
Hmm.
especially with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in particular, because there's an RNG aspect to it when you're trying to get all these blades and stuff. So I don't really like that about it. I'm kind of more old school. Or I should also mention the equipment system is also a little convoluted. I'm kind of old school. I like the old, you have a helmet, you have a chest piece, you have boots, a couple accessories, and you're good to go. So, um,
very
and
cool.
lastly, I've been playing. Dragon Quest II on the Switch. I played through the first Dragon Quest game when that came out, the same day that Dragon Quest 11 came out, and it was nice. Having an RPG that's less than 10 hours is certainly a breath of fresh air. I
Yeah.
like that about it.
Have you
and
have have you played any of the other versions of Dragon Quest 1 and 2?
I have not. This is actually my
Okay.
first time playing it. So I'm coming at it at that angle. I realize that there's been a little bit of controversy on the art style, and I know also kind of when you're walking around, there's kind of like a really huge like frame rate dip when you're walking
Right.
around. I don't know. Have you guys picked up the game?
So I've played a couple different versions of Dragon Quest 1. I'm at least familiar with Dragon Quest 2, but
Okay.
I haven't picked up the Switch version. I was one of those people that was kind of concerned about the art direction. So did you find it distracting, or were you able to kind of get used to it pretty immediately?
You know, being that it was my first time playing it, I felt like I kind of just
You didn't know any
it was
better?
normal to me.
Yeah.
I didn't know any better. So, I
Right.
guess I didn't have anything to compare it to, and I mean, I really enjoyed playing through the game. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
Dragon Quest 2, I'm like a couple hours in. I'm still at that stage where, you can't even leave the first town without dying. You gotta sit there and grind to level 5, and then you can finally move to the next area.
Dude,
So, that's kinda where I'm at on that game.
those old school Dragon Quest games, they are so unforgiving.
Right,
Like,
yeah,
they're just like, "Nope,
yep.
go back and grind."
Lose half your money, start over.
Yeah. Yeah. It's intense. I love it though.
Yeah.
Um, cool. Very, very cool. Been very, very busy with gaming, so that's some good picks there. Um, so I've been playing more of Dragon Quest 11, and I've been playing Link's Awakening some more. And basically, I've been just kind of like in this chill mode where because I've already played Dragon Quest 11 completely on the PS4, I'm kind of like just casually playing Dragon Quest 11 on the Switch in the 16-bit mode. I know there's obviously a lot of added content that they've put into this version, but I've primarily just been playing the 16-bit mode and just kind of with the attitude like I'm going to play this as long as I feel like playing it, and then I'm going to stop playing it whether I've beaten it in 16-bit mode or not. And thus far I've not really gotten to that point where I felt like putting it down yet. So that's a major positive. I still I'm a little less like gushing praise with the 16-bit version that I was previously. I'm still like, this is awesome. I can't believe they did this. But I still feel like, man, like some of the story sequences, I just remember it being this like big scene in the 3D version, and they really just went like really simple with some of the story sequences. Eric touched on one last time where you're being chased by like these knights in the game. And you know, in the 3D version, it's this big dramatic scene and like all these like, you know, running through trees and all this other stuff. But in the 2D version, it's just simply like your characters run across the screen once and then like that's it. You know? So I'm so it's kind of like, man, like if this was my first time playing, I think I would have to play the 3D version. I would recommend playing the 3D version just to get all those like awesome, you know, full scale story sequences. But I could definitely see toying around with the 2D version. And I've been hitting up a lot of the side content as well. So being able to, they have this mode where you can go back in time and kind of play a little bit in like prior Dragon Quest games. And the whole idea is that something's messing with the timeline or something like that. So you have to go fix it. And you know, you can go to Dragon Quest 1 and 2, etc., all through the whole series. They slowly unlock through the game. And that's kind of cool to be able to revisit those games. So the first one you get is Dragon Quest 1, so you can go back there and uh visit one of the towns and defeat a monster that's apparently affecting the timeline. It's nothing like extreme. You're not going to spend 6 hours in Dragon Quest One. It's probably like 15 minutes. So it's just kind of like a little nod, but nothing extensive. But you know, it's stuff like that that gives it replayability. So just been doing that, and then Link's Awakening. The more I play that game, the more I'm enjoying the remake. I didn't really like the art style, to be honest. I was one of those people. I felt like it should have been entirely cell shaded. I didn't
Mhm.
really like the like clay figure look, but I've gotten used to it. And again, this is a game where like when I get bored of Dragon Quest, I just push back over to Link's Awakening and I just start playing that. And I'm so glad that I got Link's Awakening, the digital version. Usually I'm all about getting the physical edition because I want to expand my collection. But that game is so perfect for digital because I can just stop playing Dragon Quest 11 and just immediately switch over to Link's Awakening and not have to worry about it, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like I
that
don't
makes
like
sense.
yeah, I don't like getting up and like having to like change the game. Like that part sucks. I don't I don't
Mhm.
like that. But I don't feel bad about not buying the physical version just because that's such a popular game that if I want a physical version later, like it's probably gonna be one of the Switch games that's like readily available. I
Mm.
suspect.
Yeah.
There's certain like indie games. Like I saw that for example, like Undertale, there was a physical version of that game on the Switch. And I could have bought it like at Best Buy for like $12. I still beat myself up for not doing that because I bought the digital version, but I still think like games like that, 20 years from now might be a little difficult to find. But Link's Awakening, that's gonna be at, like, every garage sale in America for the next, like, 10 years, so I'm not too
Yeah,
worried about
I've
it.
already I've also seen just on like Facebook classified stuff, people are already trying to sell that game like crazy. Like they beat it and now they're trying to get $50 out of it.
Yeah, they're like, while it still holds its value. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so, makes sense, but, that's basically what I've been playing, just Dragon Quest XI and, Link's Awakening, but, Stan, what have you been getting into?
Well, I just want to put it out there for Eric so that he knows that I bought. Oh, we'll get it in the camera
Mhm.
there. Dragon Quest 11.
It's a very
So
glossy package you got there.
yeah, it's still sealed. It hasn't it hasn't been opened. But step one, buy the game, is complete. Now I just need to find some time to actually play it.
Oh, that
That'll be a little
is
bit harder, but
yeah, I can see, his heart just sinking if he's watching this, just like, oh, like he finally got it. But no.
yeah, I got it. The thing is, my friend that I live with, we have one Switch, right, that we share between us. And I don't know if you remember, I purchased Fire Emblem Three Houses for him for his birthday like a couple months ago. And he has been off all this week, and so that's what he's been playing. So the Switch has been occupied. That's my excuse. But I did find some time to start a new game, Horizon Zero Dawn. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before. It it's sold a few copies, from what I
Yeah,
understand.
it's kind of obscure. It's one
Yeah,
of those obscure games.
yeah,
No, it's one of my favorite games on the PS4. Like that's like of the PS4 like generation, that's like in my top 5. Like I love that game. But
yeah.
how are you enjoying it?
Well, I'm been kind of sour on open world games in recent years, just because of how long they are,
Mhm.
and maybe because the last one I think I really played was Final Fantasy 15. But that's
Well, I
you
mean,
know,
that had like a 2005 open world in like 2017.
right, right, yeah. So, and I also kind of got burnt out on like the Assassin's Creed series and stuff before that. So that's kind of colored my perception. But since then, we've had some really great open world games come out, like Witcher 3, which I haven't played. That's another one that I have to play before this generation's over somehow.
Get
And
on that.
yeah, and Horizon Zero Dawn as well. So I got about 3 hours into Horizon. Um, I just beat what I guess you would say the first boss,
Mm.
which is the one where they allow you to leave the kind of tutorial area just briefly, right?
Are you as a little girl or when she's older?
No, no, when she's older,
Okay, so
you
you've
fight
got
the,
okay.
is it a sawtooth? I think it's called.
I don't remember what it's called, but I know, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was terrorizing the villagers, kind of just outside the gate. You
How'd you
go
feel
out
about
there and
that
you take
boss?
that. Um, he was kind of tough, but they kind of lead you in a direction to buy the trap, right? The shock, whatever it's called, the rope that you put across.
Yeah.
And he like circles, like, right. He just goes around in a circle on a predetermined path, and so he was challenging, but I didn't feel like I was unequipped,
Yeah.
right, to deal with it. So
That game's really well balanced, I found, to
mhm,
where I felt like I've always just had just enough skill to defeat the enemy, but it was never to the point where it was like super easy.
mhm,
I always felt like I worked for it, but like it was still like I don't know, that game just has this ability to like right when I kill the enemy, I just feel like I'm like in Braveheart or something. I'm just like screaming at the sky like I just barely made it through. Like I don't
right.
know. Like the game is
It's
so
pretty
intense.
challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, scales, good difficulty
Yeah.
curve. Yeah,
But
yeah. So I'm not very far into it. I need to put some more time into it. But so far I like what I played. I was a little worried in the beginning because the when you're playing as the little girl, as like the movement tutorial kind of, the camera was like really really close, like
yeah.
behind the character, and I was like, oh no. And I was kind of like scrambling through the menu, like looking for a way to like adjust the camera back, but I got used to it, and then it turns out it is like you have a wider camera angle when you
Yeah.
actually get into the full game properly. So
Yeah. Did you well obviously you haven't been able to touch the DLC because that's way in the future, but did you get the full version with the DLC or did you get the
yes,
base
I
game?
have the complete game with the Frozen Wild expansion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought that version
Hmm.
also just so I have the base version. I got that a long time ago, and then I got the new version with that has like the whole game in it. And I remember I was at the GameStop, and like the guy was telling me, he's like, "Dude, you're gonna love this game. Like, it's such a good game. Like, it's a great game." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Well, yeah, I already own it." And he just looks
Uh,
at me like, and I was like, "Then why are you buying it again?" And I was just like, "Cause I just wanted it all on one disc." Like,
right.
you know, like I don't know if I ever get another PS4 or something, I don't have my account. Like, I just pop the
Hmm.
disc in and I got everything. You know?
Yeah, and if PlayStation 5 is backward compatible, like I think they confirmed it should be with at least PlayStation 4.
Hmm.
I remember that a while back.
Yeah,
Then you have it, right?
yeah,
So you can play it on there.
yeah. I totally feel you though with open world games though, because I have a confession to make. I have Red Dead Redemption 2
Mm.
and it's still in the plastic.
Mm.
And I got it like a month after it came out and like I still haven't played it. It's
Right.
it's, it's like literally still in the plastic and like every now and again I think about playing it and I know it's supposed to be a great game, but then I'm like, oh, I don't have 500 hours.
Right.
Like so I
That's
don't
the
know.
thing about those long games is that they're just so intimidating to start for the
Hmm.
first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very daunting.
Yeah.
And
Well,
like I said, a lot of my open world gaming experience has been with like the Assassin's Creed games, which in my opinion have kind of already peaked and have been going downhill.
Yeah,
yeah.
I agree.
But people say that the newest ones, Origins and Odyssey, were good. I haven't actually played those two, so I could be wrong. But
Aside, yeah. Well, I was gonna say Odyssey had like a weird trajectory because when it first came out, like the first few days or the first week it came out, I saw it getting like kind of like good reviews, but not like fantastic. Like I saw a lot of 8.5s, kind of
mhm,
in that range. And then like it seemed like every preceding week after that, like the amount of hype for the game like grew to the point where like I see people today just like this game is amazing. It's you know,
yeah,
so it seems like one of those games that like you kind of just got to like sink your teeth into and spend some time with it, and it kind of grows on you. But
yeah,
yeah, I've seen a lot of good stuff about that. So
yeah. Just a lot of open world games I felt are like there's there's a 20-hour story or meaningful gameplay in there padded out to be 100 or like 80 to 100 hours
Yeah.
yeah,
through just like fetch quests and have you collected every item like in this zone. Okay, good. Now go to the next zone, climb a tower. The kind of
Yeah.
Ubisoft gameplay they've become known for. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I haven't played the best ones like Horizon and Witcher, so I should hold my tongue and actually play the games.
Well, I think with those two, you'll be impressed for sure.
Yeah.
But very, very cool. So it sounds like we've all been having a good week of gaming. So that's a good week in my book.
Absolutely.
See here. So for some quick news here that we just want to comment on, basically say this happened, give a few quick thoughts on here. The Mario and Luigi team, Alpha Dream, or the studio, a lot of you saw, but they've filed bankruptcy. Now, they've been around since about 2000, and they've made all the Mario and Luigi RPG games, and they made some couple other games as well. And apparently it just came down to the fact that they were about $4 million in debt. They were primarily focusing on 3DS games. I guess they just got to the point where they just didn't have enough money to really invest into developing for the Switch. They got stuck in a rut. I guess they tried to do some remakes. They didn't sell as well as they thought they were going to do. And they just couldn't get themselves out of that dip. So unfortunately, 46 employees are going to be losing their jobs soon. They filed bankruptcy, and that's unfortunate. So that sucks. We've seen, I don't know what you all have seen, but I've seen a lot of people wanting, some other company to come along and purchase them. But I don't know why a company would purchase them, because usually if you're going to acquire a company, you're acquiring like the intellectual rights to their property, and they don't own Mario and Luigi. So like,
Yeah.
like Nintendo could still make Mario and Luigi games. So it's not like, I mean, unless there's something I don't know about the contract, maybe they can't reference certain storylines or something. I don't know. But for all intents and purposes, if Nintendo came along and purchased them, there wouldn't be anything they would gain except maybe, I mean, they could just hire the key players from this team, this studio. I mean, it's kind of one of those weird situations. I mean, if Nintendo, like for example, if like Square Enix was going out of business, okay, well, yeah, buy them, because you're going to get the Final Fantasy franchise, the Dragon Quest franchise, Kingdom Hearts, Star Ocean, like just all these big name franchises. But I don't see, unfortunately, the upside to that. But I don't know. What did you guys think when you heard they were closing down? Obviously, I don't think any of us have played the Mario and Luigi games, so we're kind of just speculating here at surface level. But
Yeah, well, I haven't really played the games, but from what I understand, they were pretty well received,
yeah,
like well written, and that like there's some good humor in there, like in the writing. So it's a shame to hear that the studio's closing down. You really just hope for the best for those 40 some people.
yeah, yeah,
Hopefully, they've all got a good resume from their experience there, right?
yeah.
And they can find their way to another company that maybe could even be like a springboard. Like these people from Alpha Dream, they've been making games with those Nintendo characters. Maybe that was enough to get them noticed by, like you said, by a bigger company like Nintendo or something, and they could get a role at that company, or Sony, or some other big company, or maybe, well, the company's in debt, so not likely that they have the funds to start up another studio or anything, but maybe they could convince Nintendo to help them out, not
Right.
really to save this studio, but to like maybe
Start their own
assign them,
division or something.
start their own project, yeah, or something.
That's the thing I could see an upside to this is, okay, people like these games. Clearly there was some kind of creative talent there. And
Hmm.
I could see Nintendo looking at it like, well, we could buy the studio, but like they're $4 million in debt. They're
Hmm.
good at making 3DS games. We're making Switch games, HD games. but maybe we could hire these people. That would be cheaper than to, try to buy something that's currently in debt, But
Right.
Yeah.
I definitely think that these people clearly are very, very creative and very talented. There's a lot of fans behind this stuff, and I'm sure they have very, very bright careers from here. It's just in this awkward transitionary period where it's like, okay, I kind of need something else right now.
Yeah.
So, um, but yeah, Lane, did we kind of cover all possible points you could possibly say?
Pretty much. The only thing that I was kind of thinking was depending on how far along. I assume they were working on a Switch game. Um, Depending on how far along they were, I can see where. I mean, yeah, I can see where they probably wouldn't buy out their studio. I mean, 4 million is probably chump change to Nintendo, but it probably would be better for them to, depending on how far along they were in that project, to maybe hire those developers. And being that the Switch does have such a larger audience than the Nintendo DS did now, you would think that anything with the name Mario or Luigi in it would just sell like crazy on the Switch. So to me, I kind of see this as a good opportunity for Nintendo to get this team on, get get on board with where they were at in their current development, and get this game out there and make some money on it.
Yeah, that would be it. Even if it's, they own Mario and Luigi. I mean,
Hmm.
just being able to capitalize on the hype surrounding this, right?
Yep.
It would be a good story to be out there. Like, hey, Nintendo hires X amount of former Alpha Dream members, and there's a new Mario and Luigi game in development. That would
Totally.
probably right now would be a great time to announce that. So yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So hopes and prayers, and now I feel like I need to go back and play some of these games. I feel like I missed
Yeah.
out. So, another quick story here that Lane brought to our attention that we missed, but there's this Tales of or Tales bundle that's being released in Europe, and it's basically all the Tales games on the PS4. So it's got Tales of Berseria, Vesperia, and Zestiria. Now, did Vesperia ever was there? Oh, I guess there was a remaster, huh? Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so we got Berseria, Zestiria, and then Vesperia. It's a tongue twister. But all three of those games are in like one package on the PS4, and that's in Europe. So, Lane, you were saying that it might be kind of cool if this could come westward.
Yeah, totally. I don't really see why it wouldn't. I mean, the games are all complete. They're just kind of in a package deal together, right? So I
Hmm.
don't know, maybe it's just kind of, maybe I would think that it would come eventually.
Yeah, yeah, but that would be a awesome buy though because
Yeah.
I haven't played Zestiria. I know that that's kind of like the
Mm,
one of the
it's
games
not
that
that great.
yeah, I was trying to think of a polite way to say it, but I I haven't ran into too many people that really like Zestiria. I know they're out there, and that's fine. I haven't played the game, so maybe I'll be one of those people one day. But I have played Vesperia. I really liked that game a lot. And then
Yeah.
I didn't like the gameplay in Berseria, but I really liked the story in Berseria. I thought that was a really like well executed story. Like I was very impressed. So
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, so if like being able to pick all three of those games up on the PS4 like together, that would be a steal. So I'm with you,
Yeah,
man.
especially since I'm pretty sure Tales of Vesperia is still like $40 or $50, isn't it, on the PS4?
That's a good question. I think it's got to be around there. I don't know. I
Yeah.
got it like right when it came out, so I think it came out in February. So
Yep.
it's got to be. Let me see here. I'm just curious now. Tales of Vesperia. Well, actually, I'm seeing it on sale now for $30. So,
Oh.
but still, like you're getting that game, you're getting Berseria, and then as Asteria. I mean,
Hmm.
that's awesome. So, we can hope that that would come westward, and that way, some people that haven't gotten into Tales games, or if you want to revisit those games, that'd be an excellent way to do it. Just get at least two great games. One kind of like might like it, might not like it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
Vesperia is amazing. I love that game.
So yeah, very, very cool. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. So from here, we're going to get into some of this Pokemon business. Now, Pokemon Sword and Shield's been in the news a lot lately. I don't know if you all know, but Game Freak had a 24-hour Pokemon live stream in order to promote Sword and Shield. And I considered for a nanosecond, like, should I watch that? I was like, 24 hours? Like, no, I'm just going to watch the highlights afterwards because that's obnoxious. But did you all check into this at all? Because I don't like, this was the most absurd thing I'd ever seen. Like, it was far worse than I thought it was going to be. But did you all catch any information on this?
I did, yeah.
Well,
we're pretty much about to go over everything of note that happened in the 24-hour stream in 5 to 10 minutes. So
yeah, like,
that should tell you a lot.
so apparently, okay. So basically, like, the stream was, I thought it was going to be them playing the game for 24 hours. And I thought, wow, that's like really ballsy. Like, the game's not even out. That's a lot of game you're going to show. You know, that's great. Like, you're really going to let people decide if they want to buy this game. Like, I get like, what left is there to show after you'd show 24 hours of a game? Is it going to be like one area and they're just going to like grind a Pidgey up to like level 80 in 24 hours? Like what are they going to do here? But it ended up just being like a single camera view of like a forest, like not multiple camera angles, just a single camera angle. Like, and it would have like these like wind chimes in the background with some like wind blowing some leaves. And like, that's it. There was nothing going on. It was just like a forest. And like every like 10 or 15 minutes, a Pokemon would run across the screen. But like for like all 24 hours, from what I understand, it was like Pokemon they've already announced until like the very end. There was a Galarian Ponyta that kind of came out. Apparently they've been kind of like trolling the audience by like having it like in the background and the camera being like out of focus, or like another Pokemon would be like kind of covering up the lens. But there was people that watched this for 24 hours to see a freaking Ponyta at the end of it. And I'm just, I'm like, dude, this is crazy. I don't know if I can criticize it or if I could just say this was like genius, like, because there's so many people talking about it, but it's so stupid.
I guess to some people it would be pretty suspenseful. Not myself.
Well, like, you could have literally went to bed and then woke up and like nothing new has happened.
Yeah.
Like, so, but it's anyways. So, that was a thing. I mean, some people liked it. They showed like lots of Pokemon, and you could see them in their like all HD form and stuff. But I like literally, it was like every like 15 to 20 minutes. So you had like large gaps of just like staring at an idle screen of like a leaf blowing back and forth. So not what
Speaking
I
of which, like,
but
what do you guys think of the new Pokemon? Do you think? I mean, I think most of them look ridiculous.
the
I
new
mean,
Pokemon.
like they have one. Yeah, I mean, they have one that's a teapot. A Pokemon that's a teapot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just like, are you out of ideas now?
Yeah, pretty much. Like,
Yeah.
just like whatever. It's a teapot, and it's a
And like the icing on the cake was the Ponyta. I mean, it looked like something out of a like My Little Pony. Like
yeah.
the actual Ponyta looks way better than that.
Yeah, like,
So
well, that was the
I don't
thing
know.
from I'm not like a Pokemon expert, right, by any means, but like if I remember like from the original game, like there was a Ponyta and it was kind of like it was kind of cool looking, like it was like on fire and stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
it was kind of like, man, this is a horse, but it's like got like a flame tail and like it's like on fire, like this is cool,
Yeah,
right?
that's awesome.
Yeah, like this is like I'm a guy and I like ponies now. Like this is cool, right? Like this Ponyta that was in the, I don't know. I can't hate on it because we're gonna get like mad hate now that I'm.
Well, it's
It's
like
not
a fairy type Ponyta, from what I
Okay.
understand. So it
okay.
makes a little more sense for it to be like a little more cutesy, you know, versus the fire type, right?
Fair enough.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna see if I can pull an image of this Ponyta up. It's nothing critical. I mean, like we said, they have like 1,000 Pokemon now, so they got teapots and stuff. So like this is actual like an animal. Like this is
Hmm.
this is
Yeah.
actually a monster. So that's kind of cool. And like they showed like the Ponyta like kind of like rubbing up against another one, and like they were like changing colors and stuff, which was kind of cool. But yeah, it like definitely looked like My Little Pony with like the like pink tail and like little pink cuffs and everything like that. It's not as cool as the on fire Pokemon in my opinion. But what are you gonna do? I mean, there's like 800 Pokemon. Not all of them can be on fire. So,
True.
uh, but yeah. So there was that live stream that was interesting. There was a lot of information that was released with a Game Informer article. One of the big things that was all over the internet, which I don't know if you all saw, but there apparently was like supposed to be like 16 gyms, like Pokemon gyms, which is like way more than the normal amount of gyms, right? But apparently that was a mistranslation by Game Informer. Game Freak had to come out, and there's major leagues and minor leagues and different gyms are required depending on the version of the game you buy. So I kind of read that and thought, well, maybe Game Informer was right. there's there's 16 gyms. I don't know. So that was kind of interesting. There was a lot of hubbub around that, but some of the other stuff that was released about it, there's an autosave now, so you know you don't have to worry about constantly saving, but you can turn it off. So that's cool. We have Pokemon that are cut from Sword and Shield. That's been confirmed. They'll show up in future games. The developer said this was done for a few reasons. They said more development time on gameplay. It would allow them to have more development on gameplay. Specifically, they're trying to make every Pokemon competitive. So that's understandable on that front because one thing I know, being an older, more original cast of Pokemon fan, there were certain Pokemon you would get that like just sucked. Like you would get it and then immediately it would just not be usable, you know? So that's kind of cool. I'm thinking like a Magikarp, for example, like all it could do was like wag its
Splash.
tail or something or splash or something. Yeah. So there was like no reason to use that. But if you would let it evolve, it would turn into what is that, Gyarados or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, and that thing was like beastly. So, but anyway, so they're trying to rebalance the game and kind of work on the gameplay and make it a little bit more competitive, more options, actual usable options. And then they said certain Pokemon are said to not fit the region's environment, which is based on the United Kingdom. So they felt like, certain Pokemon wouldn't really fit the aesthetic that they're going for. So that was kind of interesting because a lot of fans were really wondering why they were cutting Pokemon from Sword and Shield when they've always had them before. I saw there were some fans talking about this and kind of giving their opinions on that. But what do y'all feel about that with them cutting Pokemon? Is it like, does it affect your enjoyment, you think, of the game? Like, are you less likely to buy the game now that you hear they're cutting Pokemon?
Um, you know, I'm like you said, I'm kind of an old school Pokemon guy. So like the first three generations are my jam, like the Game Boy Advance era.
Mm,
So to me, coming in this, I'm kind of bummed that I can't get a lot of those Pokemon, I guess. Um, and to be honest, I don't really know if I buy that whole, it's to save on development time because you would think that they could. I mean, I'm not a game developer, but I mean, they've already made all these assets for these Pokemon in HD, right?
right.
So, I mean, I can see maybe like, yeah, maybe the balancing aspect, but I mean, they've already balanced what the previous, is it 7 generations of Pokemon? So you would think it would be less work to just take this new generation of Pokemon and balance that into the existing. I don't know if you call it a meta, but yeah, I don't know. To me, To me, it sounds like, oh, we want to sell the new Pokemon games, and we don't want people to take all their old Pokemon and transfer it to the Switch game, and then don't have an incentive to buy the new Switch Pokemon game. But I could
Hmm.
be wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I did see some fans kind of point that out that apparently in a prior interview, one of the developers said they have high resolution versions of all Pokemon, like you said, and then that way they don't have to like redesign them or whatever for every new game. They can just down res that or just use that as like a base canvas. I guess it kind of helps with the process. So, um,
Yeah.
I mean, I can understand that. Stan, does the lack of not being able to catch them all irritate you in this version?
Not so much. Although I'm trying to put myself in the like a mega fan's shoes, I can see why that would be disappointing to hear that. And so from that perspective, I suppose, yeah, I think there are going to be people who are turned off, and but then I have to think, well, those people are the mega fans. Like, are they going to still buy it anyway? you
Probably.
know.
Yeah.
But for myself, I was never a catch 'em all type of player. I really actually only got into the first two games, Red and Blue, and then I also kind of dabbled in them here and there.
Mm,
I think I completed White and Black, or Black version, I think it was. But yeah, I haven't really been into Pokemon since those first games, Red and Blue. And even back then, I never caught them all.
right.
I just wanted like a really solid team, right? Like a really
Yeah.
strong team of Pokemon. And once I
Hmm.
had that, and I could beat the Elite Four at the end of the game, I was satisfied. And I was like, yeah, I beat the game. That's the goal, right? And
Yeah.
then no, other people were like, no, the goal is you have to catch them all. I was like, well, the credits don't roll when you catch them all, right? They roll when you beat the
Yeah.
Elite Four, and that's the whole purpose of the journey, right? Is to become the Pokemon Master.
Yeah. Dude, that
Yeah.
was such a great catchphrase because it like at least for the video game, it like instilled like the goal of the game was to 100% it. Most RPGs, like most people don't 100%, but like this one, it's like, nope, no, you haven't beat it. You got to catch them all, you
Hmm.
know, all of them. Uh, I don't know. I was trying to think about this and I was going back and forth like you all, like, okay, like I don't really care because I can't name all 800 Pokemon, right? Or whatever, however many there are. I'm just throwing a number out there.
Right.
But so I don't really care from that perspective. But, from sitting in the shoes of an actual like mega fan, I can see it being a big deal, right? Because you were looking forward to it. Maybe some of your favorite Pokemon won't be available. And then I've seen where fans have pointed out that older games, but newer, kind of like the newer generation, but still games prior to this one, they would still let you trade with older games. And so they wouldn't have, you couldn't go catch a Zapdos or whatever, in the game, but you could still, if you wanted a Zapdos, you could go trade it from an earlier game. So that way you could still have the game, the Pokemon. And so they still want that ability. And I don't know, I was thinking about this and I feel like Game Freak, they would include all the Pokemon in the game if it was that easy, because like it would be much easier just to like not piss them off, right? So if they just had like all these HD Pokemon and it was so easy to just throw it in there without any work, like I would assume they would do that. So I'm trying to think like why would they not put them in there if it was that easy? And the only thing I can only come up with two reasons. A, it's not that easy, meaning they have to like balance all the Pokemon, rebalance it with like this new balance of the game and make sure you don't trade for some Pokemon that's just going to wreck the entire game. Or they're going to plan to do like a Elder Scrolls model or something. And they'll be like, fine, you want to catch all the Pokemon? Now you need to buy this DLC and you can go to this other continent and you can go catch all these other Pokemon over here, and then you can buy this DLC over here, and you
Yeah.
can go to this other continent and catch all the Pokemon over there, and then that way, they're getting paid to do all this work on all these different Pokemon. So I got to think it's one of the two. Either it's it actually is pretty difficult, which probably is the case to a degree. That's a lot of Pokemon.
Sure.
Or they're thinking of some way to monetize that work in the future so they can get more money. Those are the only two things I can think of.
Yeah, it may not even be with DLC, right? Because we had Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, right? Which is just a remaster or a is it a remaster or like a remake?
I'd
It's
say
more
it's a
like a
remake.
remake of the original games. Yeah, it's a pretty substantial visual upgrade. They may see how well those sold and think, well, so we could do another version of those games, but like for every single generation and release them on the Switch. And they probably sell very well. But then they
Yeah.
might be worried, well, if we put all the Pokemon in Sword and Shield and now people have their, HD version of all the Pokemon they've collected, they may not want to purchase, future Let's Go Pokemon titles, right? Because they'll be like, oh well, I have them all. I caught them all in Sword and Shield or traded them to get them into that version, you know. So
I don't know.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
it might be a financial decision.
Well, it's hard because I don't know. I guess it comes down to why do people play these games? I mean, are they playing? Do they look forward to a new game because there's going to be new Pokemon? And I know there's the whole competitive scene where they actually battle against other players, and there's like pro level Pokemon players and stuff like that. So I could
Yeah.
see from that angle just being excited to get a new game to have new different Pokemon to mess with. But for like the casual fan, and I mean people that aren't like trying to compete for money, right? They just really enjoy the franchise. Um, I don't know. I mean, why would the fact that they can play with Pikachu and HD on their Switch prevent them from buying a future game? I don't know. I mean, is it the story? Is it like the new continent, or is it just the Pokemon itself? I guess there's got to be a certain amount of deterrent for a certain percentage of your audience that would not purchase a future title. So yeah, I guess that's a consideration for sure.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about Pokemon is there's everybody plays it a little bit differently for different reasons. There is,
Right.
like you said, the casual audience that just likes to go through the Elite Four and call it good. Then you have
That's
the
me.
audience that is really into yeah, yeah, same here more recently. But yeah, then you have the guys that like to do the competitive battling, the people who like to catch them all. And then there's also the audience that just likes to hunt for shinies, sit there and catch the same Pokemon over and over and over again until you finally get a shiny.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the mega collectors, those
yep,
people.
yep.
Got to
Yeah.
get the shiny version of all of them.
Yeah. Well, but regardless, I'm going to pick up Sword and Shield. This will be the first Pokemon game that I've picked up in a long time, but
Yeah.
this is looking to be a really good game, in my opinion. It's attracting me back into the mix, which I don't know if that pisses off some of the veteran players that have kind of stuck with it, like, oh, you're attracting all these casual players, But hey, whatever, it's working. So
Yep.
I'm gonna buy it when it comes out, and I'm actually looking forward to it. One of the other things that we learned about this game, though, that has been a little bit of controversy among fans of this series, is the Pokemon are going to gain experience automatically, meaning all Pokemon are going to receive experience whether or not they battle. And basically, the deal with this is like apparently this was an option in earlier games, but you were able to control whether you wanted that to happen. It was an item that would
Mhm.
make it happen, right? And apparently with this, it's not going to be something you can toggle on and off. And certain players they like that strategic aspect of having to switch a Pokemon out into battle in order to gain experience. And they feel like Pokemon's already pretty easy, that when you
Mhm.
do this, it's only making it even easier. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I can see that. It does seem like kind of a bummer because it was more difficult to level up a weaker Pokemon in a stronger area, right? Because if they were under leveled, they wouldn't be able to defeat anything. So you had to try and like either have them start the battle, right, and then use a turn to swap them out, or try and swap them in when like one of the Pokemon is almost dead and have it finish it off, finish off like the Magikarp, right, in the first game.
Mhm.
That was a grind to get that Gyarados because of how difficult it was. Like you couldn't
Oh, dude. Yeah.
like right if there's like a Pokemon that's kind of like Magikarp in this game, where it's like kind of totally useless until it evolves, and then it's really strong. That's not going to feel as satisfying, right? Because you can just leave it on the bench in your sixth Pokemon slot, and if it's gaining just as much experience as the Pokemon that are actually battling, then it's just kind of almost like an item sitting in your inventory until now it's useful,
Right.
like after X number of battles. So,
Yeah, there is a certain amount of risk, right? To
mhm,
throwing that Pokemon out there, like specifically the example we have here with Magikarp, literally useless Pokemon. Like it cannot do any damage, and
mhm,
so you would have to start the battle off with and we're talking like the Pokemon generation we're familiar with.
yeah,
So sorry if you're a hardcore fan and you want, we're talking about the original 151 here. But where we had the Magikarp, you sent them out there, and then he can't attack at all. And like
mhm,
that Pokemon is probably going to have to take at least one round of damage before
yep,
you are able to switch that Pokemon out. And then that Pokemon is going to have to get hit, and then you're going to be able to attack, right? And
mhm,
because you had to do that, you know, there was a certain amount of risk because you can't keep the Magikarp out there forever. It can't just take hits on every single battle. Eventually, it's going
sometimes
to die. Yeah.
yeah,
So
sometimes they can't even take one.
right,
So,
exactly. So yeah, there's that too. Like, is it weak against like lightning Pokemon? So it's just I can see this. This is actual real criticism I can see because
Yeah.
even like inventory, you're gonna have to use your potions and such or whatever
mhm,
to heal the Pokemon and keep it alive if you want to evolve it. I can see why people have a problem with this,
Yeah.
and
Sprint to the Pokemon Center.
yeah, exactly. Just it got to yeah, exactly. But this is one of those things where I feel like it would be very easy for them to just let you toggle it on and off, or
Yeah.
maybe like give you a difficulty mode at the beginning that lets you do this, or you can play like a veteran mode that has
yeah,
that option turned off.
mhm,
Yeah.
So, it seems like a very easy fix compared to the other thing we were talking about with having like every Pokemon ever created in the game. Like this seems like much more manageable than that.
Yeah. And one thing I was thinking, I can kind of see both sides. I can see where this is kind of a quality of life thing. But at the same time, like you guys said, there is that experience that you remember of having, how difficult it was to level your Magikarp to get that Gyarados, right? So I was
yeah,
kind of thinking maybe one way, I mean, it's too late now, but one way they could have maybe pleased both ends of the aisle was to have some sort of penalty if you do level up your Pokemon via just having them sit in the on the bench in your party, right? Like maybe their stats don't scale as much as if you were to actually have them go be present in battle for the versed, so you could swap them out. Something like that. Some sort of penalty for trying to take the easy way out.
Oh, that would
yeah.
drive me nuts.
Or maybe, may- maybe if it didn't full share the full experience, maybe if the ones
Yeah.
that actually battled got most of it, and like the ones that didn't participate maybe got like 10% of the total
Yeah.
Yeah.
experience or
Something
something like
really
that.
small. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
Final Fantasy VII did that, right? Where like your party members that were not in the actual party, they would still gain experience like they were journeying, right? But it
Hmm.
wouldn't
yeah.
be
It
at
wouldn't
such a
be,
degree that
yeah,
you were, right? Um,
yeah, because you don't want to reward. You want to reward the player that the characters you're using more,
right.
right, than the ones that you're not. Because then it feels more like you're making your team really strong.
Because otherwise, well, I can see you just incentivizing you to just use the same Pokemon the whole game because it's like
Yeah,
the one you started off with. It's the strongest one. It's probably going to be the best choice in many cases, besides what it's weak against. So I could see why people are upset.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. Like, I guess they said they're working a lot on the gameplay and making it really well balanced. So maybe they've addressed that in another way. And I'm trying to think of this in the past, like how decisions like this have been looked at in the past, right? And I'm thinking back to Final Fantasy 1, where on the regular Nintendo, where if you attacked an enemy, right, you had to choose which enemies you were going to attack. And if you had your whole party choose the same enemy to attack, if the first two people in your party killed that monster, the next two would just attack air, right?
They would
So
miss
you
out.
had, yeah, so a lot of people felt like that was very strategic because you had to memorize how many attacks or how much HP every enemy would have, and you'd have to strategically like plan out your attack, right? Because, they felt like, okay, if that enemy has 100 HP, your warrior and your mage, they'll do 50 damage each or whatever. Okay, well then you have to have these two others do something else, right? And so I know for some people when they started automating that whole thing where, okay, if the first two people kill that monster, they'll just attack the next monster. That drove some people nuts because they felt like you were taking a strategic element from the game. But now here we are 20 or 30 years later, and I can't imagine, like, I can't play the game like that. Going back
Yeah.
to play Final Fantasy 1 like that, I just, it makes me want to hang myself. Like it's
Rough.
terrible.
It's brutal.
I mean, maybe not that bad, but it's just like, Jesus Christ. Like, no, just why would you attack air? Stop, So maybe this will be something like that where we don't like it now, but they're able to compensate in some way. And then, 5 or 10 years down the road, we'll think like, God, I have to level all these Pokemon up individually. There's like 800 of them, So I don't know. I guess we have to play the game.
Yep, we'll find out.
Yeah. So anyways, that's some Pokemon Sword and Shield. I'm still waiting to find out how many gems are going to be in this actual game because
Yeah, I wonder why they didn't just tell us how many
Confirm,
were going to be in there.
to clear up the confusion.
yeah, they're like, there's not 16, and then it's just quiet. Like,
There's more
what?
than 8 and less than 16. Figure it out.
Yeah, there's more than usual, but there's less than 16. So there's 15. I mean, like, I don't know. So I wonder if like the argument was actually what they were trying to say was, I wonder if maybe there are 16 gems, but it's not necessary to beat the game by going to all 16. Because they kind of made it sound like certain ones were optional.
That could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they have like some sort of super boss level gym.
Super gem.
Yeah.
It's like only, yeah, it's like pro players only or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, game's coming out next month. I'm excited. I'm gonna buy it. I'm a little skeptical now that we've talked about this Pokemon gaming experience thing, but whatever. I guess you just got to roll with it. And they're promising a more balanced, gameplay wise, like a more competitively balanced experience. So I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt and give it a shot. So I'm excited. Moving on, we have Apple Arcade RPGs. So usually we don't like to talk about mobile gaming on here because usually it's kind of trash. There are some pretty good mobile games, but by and large are usually, microtransactions or free to play games where it's basically not a possibility to play the game in any real meaningful way without spending money, right? So Apple is trying to combat this a little bit. And what they're doing here is they have this business model where if you pay a subscription fee, kind of like Netflix, you get access to off the gate. It's like 71 games. They're planning to boost it up to about 100 games at the end of the year. And what's different about this is none of the games, if your game is free to play or it has microtransactions, it's not allowed to be on Apple Arcade. So if you're paying $5 a month, you're going to have access to complete games, no microtransactions allowed. And on top of that, they've actually been attracting like legit game developers, right? So they have Sakaguchi, who's working on a game called Fantasian. And so that's kind of an interesting RPG where it's using like real world, like pictures of maps like that they built themselves. And then they're putting like a actual animated character on top of that. I would show you all a video, but last time we did, like, they took the video down. So just Google it, Fantasian, Fantasian. It seems like a really cool concept, and there's other games on there too that we want to get into. So before I just go down the list here, I'm just going to pull up some of the trailers and we can kind of check them out here. So the first one that I want to pull up here is called Oceanhorn 2: Knights of the Lost Realm. Now this is being advertised as an action RPG, which might be a little bit of a stretch on the RPG front, but I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt here because this game looks awesome. It looks like reminds me of Breath of the Wild, kind of, to be honest.
This is I played the first Oceanhorn game a little bit.
I heard that one wasn't very good.
It was on the PS3.
Okay.
And I
How'd you like it?
I got a free code for the game, so I kind of only checked it out for a little bit, and
this one apparently is substantially improved over that one. I just want to say that up front before.
Oh yeah. This from what I've seen of this video, it looks a lot better actually. The first one was kind of a Zelda clone, but more of like a top-down view, and kind of like also like out in the Oceanhorn, right? So it's like an islands kind of Wind Waker setting, and yeah, it didn't really strike me as anything more than like a Zelda clone in the first few hours that I played of it. And so I didn't really stick with it. But this game is
Still
like
a Zelda clone, but
still a Zelda clone, but it's more in the 3D style, right? And
okay.
yeah, this for being on a subscription service, not having to drop, 50, 40, 50, 60 bucks, like this looks like a pretty substantial game. Looks like you're getting good value.
Yeah, it looks like it does definitely have a very clear, Zelda clone style
Mhm.
to it, which will turn some people off. They like their games to be completely original. They don't want, they look at games as a work of art, and they don't like when, something's clearly more than inspired by something else. But I look at it like, is this fun to play? Is it immersive, right? And to me, this looks really, really polished for, especially for something that's coming to a $5 a month subscription service to where you can basically play this. I don't want to say for free because you're paying $5 a month, but I
Yeah.
mean, it's mixed in with like 70 other games. I mean, this looks amazing. Like this
Yeah.
looks like a lot of fun to play. So
On mobile too, like,
yeah. Now,
I
so I
wonder how the
wonder
controls
how
will
much
work.
it's gonna drain your battery.
well, and
Yeah,
that
that too.
Yeah, that's the thing. Apparently, okay, so Apple Arcade will work on your iPhone, your Apple tablet or whatever, your iPad, and then they have the Apple TV thing for your television. Now, the iPad and the TV, Apple TV, that can sync with a PS4 controller. So you can play this with a regular, gamepad.
That's cool.
Yeah. The only problem is I don't have an iPhone. Right? So
Yeah.
the look up to play this specific game, which is, a higher end, you need like their newest tablet, right? Which is like 350 bucks.
Okay. That makes
Or
a little more sense because yeah, it looks pretty um like a pretty polished game, like you said.
yeah. So apparently it runs really well on that. Or you can get their Apple TV. They have two models. They have Apple like HD and then Apple 4K. The HD one that I checked out, I saw people reviewing this game on that. They said the frame rate was horrible. It was like 10 frames. Yeah, it was just not.
Oof.
Yeah, it wasn't very good, right? It improved in certain spots, but it was barely playable. But on the 4K one, it was pretty smooth, but they said it would definitely ran the best on the tablet. Now the 4K device, that's $150. So that's a little more than I want to spend. But you can sync it with a PlayStation 4 controller, and for $5 a month, I mean, if I start seeing more games like this quality on there for $5 a month, I could see me doing that in the future because that's almost like a console in of itself, you know.
Yeah.
So,
I do
but
think it's kind of a side tangent, but I think it's kind of funny that you have to have a piece of Apple hardware to play these games, but it's okay. You can use Microsoft or Sony's controller. That's fine. We don't want to manufacture our own controller, so
yeah.
Right.
we'll let you go on there.
Well,
Right there.
they might have their own controller. I don't know, but that is funny that they like actively say like, no, it'll work with the PS4 controller. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it'll work just fine. So, yeah.
And as for this particular game, I was like, when was first watching this trailer, I was like, oh man, this is just a Breath of the Wild clone. But then I did some more research, and the first game of this actually came out before Breath of the Wild. And it's kind of funny because the main character has the same color scheme as Link does
Mhm.
in Breath of the Wild.
He does.
So I kind of bit my tongue a little bit there to call it a Breath of the Wild clones because the first game actually came out before Breath of the Wild. But like you guys said, it is clearly a Zelda clone.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, did the Seahorn one or
Oh,
Ocean Horn? I call it Seahorn. God, Jesus Christ. So, Ocean Horn. Did that the first game? I haven't checked that one out. Did it have a same like character model type deal going on, or
they were more like inspired by the 2D Zelda,
okay?
right? Character was like less, I don't know how you want proportional, like
Mm,
more childlike looking, right? Kind of more of it was still in like 3D art, right? But I guess closer to the new like Link's Awakening style. Although
okay.
not quite so like toys come to life kind of
Right,
feel,
right.
but it is more so in that style. And while this one looks more like an homage to a modern 3D Zelda games.
Gotcha. Because
Yeah.
like I was looking at like around 25 seconds or so. You see him climbing up this like pillar thing, and I was like, that feels. I mean, I don't know. I'm not like a huge Zelda fan, but that just made me feel like that was almost exactly Breath of the Wild,
Yeah.
uh,
Yep.
in that specific moment. Which again, like I think, like if you're gonna emulate a game, it might as well be a good one. So,
Right.
True. True.
anyway, so that's one of the games that's on there for uh $5 a month. Let's see, what's the next one we got here? A Various Day Life. This one's interesting because it's made by the same team that made the Bravely Default games.
Hmm.
So, already off the bat, we have Sakaguchi working on his game. We got that other one that looks like a Zelda type game, and then this one from the Bravely Default team. And so let's check this one out. Um,
Octopath Traveler was also made by that team, correct?
right.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Which
go
makes
ahead.
me a little bummed because I am just thinking like, oh, they could have been making another
Octopath
Octopath
Traveler.
Traveler game instead of
Yeah.
this one. But it sounds like Apple is, throwing around some serious money to
Yeah, like
get service off
this
the ground.
this wasn't like this doesn't I mean it's got things on it that make it look like, something you can click on with your finger, right? So it
Yeah. Right.
definitely has like a mobile type UI, but it doesn't look like it's like just a mobile game. Like it definitely looks like it's a little bit beyond that, more maybe more like a 3DS game.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But I mean, this is looking like a quality experience. So, I mean, it's not like this service, this Apple Arcade service. Initially, I thought it was just going to be a bunch of like Candy Crush and like stuff like that. I'm like, why would anyone pay $5 a month? But like,
Right.
this is like a actually well known studio. I mean, this is an RPG. I mean, this is crazy.
Yeah.
You're just gonna get this game for just a monthly, like almost as much as I guess twice as much as you pay for your Nintendo Online if you do that. So I mean,
True.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's definitely a good deal, but I just see Rem in the comments mentioned that she doesn't like having if that it kind of feels like renting a game. So I can kind of see that. Like, I hope that this isn't like sort of the segue into a subscription only gaming future, right? I hope that there's still that
Being able
physical
to
market.
purchase it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so at the same time I see the cost benefit of something like this, but at the same time I hope that it doesn't, isn't sort of a segue into a
Well,
digital
yeah,
only
that's
era.
that's the danger, right? You don't own the game, and you may really love the games that come out on it, but there's no
Right.
guarantee that the lineup of games that's there, like just like Netflix, right? Stuff comes and goes,
Yeah,
right?
because I assume as soon as you cancel your subscription, you can't play the games anymore, right?
Yeah.
So that
I
that
would think that's
is
how it would be.
that is the downside. Obviously, if you cancel your subscription, you can't play the game anymore. Now, certain games that are on Apple Arcade, they not a lot of them, but some of them are available for purchase outside of arcade. If you don't want to pay the
Oh,
$5 a month, you
okay.
can buy the game by itself. Not all games though. So, for example, I believe the Ocean Horn game, that game was only on Apple Arcade, at least right now, right? So,
Hmm.
and I know there was some games that are on the arcade that are also coming on the PS4, but not as many as you would think. Like it's not like every game. It's not like Stadia's game release where it's like every game that's on there is like also available.
On a
So,
platform where you can own the game, right?
right. So it's not like okay, you Google, you've let me down here. But the next game, Spaceland. This is like a uh it's kind of a hold on, I'm trying to get the video up here. It's centered around this like space ranger, and you have to go like solve these like crimes and respond to anomalies and that type of thing. But it's a tactical turn-based game where obviously you have to like plan out how many steps you're going to take in battle, but it's like a little bit western and it's vibe as well. So it's kind of a interesting blend of that. I guess it's more like a 90s type RPG that you might find, kind of reimagined, but it definitely looks like an interesting concept, I guess. A little bit of a dungeon crawler type game. So, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and fits the platform well, right? Top down view
Yeah.
could be fun. Play on a tablet,
Yeah. This
you know.
feels very 90s ish to me. So I'm down with it.
Hmm.
Looks like a
Um,
game that would be pretty easy to play with touch controls as well as kind of the impression I'm getting.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So probably wouldn't want to play that with your PS4 controller. So, that's on there as well. Let me get that up on the screen there. I thought I had the video up. I didn't. Let's get some video on there real quick, and then we'll switch to the next one. So you can see here, he's able to switch to or choose the movement. He has to choose the tile to move to. The enemy can also take a turn. So it's turn based,
Yeah.
but there's kind of a dynamic of you being able to shoot. So there's, distance, considerations to take into account. So lots of exploration and loot and that type of stuff. So kind of an interesting game. Moving on though, we have the next one, which is a really weird concept. Very, very weird. It's called Pinball Wizard. Now, this is more the type of game that I expected to be on the Apple Arcade, right?
Right.
Like this style of game, but it's still a cool concept because like it's got like RPG, like you level up, you have health and everything like that, and a traditional RPG structure, but you're this wizard that's like this and a big round head, right? But then it's like it's a pinball machine, and like you do damage by like trying to shoot the wizard at like enemies. And this is such like a crazy idea, and I could see me like booting this up, like I'll play this for like 2 minutes, and then
Yeah.
like realize it's been like a half hour or like 45 minutes. Like it
Yeah.
just seems like such a wacky idea. I could see this being like a big hit. You know,
Definitely looks entertaining for sure.
yeah. But yeah, so that's a game that's available on there. And then the next game we have here, this one's called Dread Nautical. Let me get it up here on the screen. so we can check this out. I mean, so obviously, you know, certain games you'll need like the higher end Apple software to play, like we saw with Oceanhorn. But then there's more like indie style games that aren't going to be as uh, requires, you know, up to date hardware. But Dreadnautical, so this is a little bit more story based, but still very explorative. I saw it described as a horror styled game. Um, so it's kind of an interesting concept. Looks like you can just more top down view, but kind of exploring the haunted, like, I guess, boat type deal, right? Solving some mysteries and stuff like that. But kind of an interesting idea. And then we have Cat Quest 2. Now, this game we talked about, I think on our 2 months ago on our RPGs coming out that month segment. And we were kind of joking about this game. Stan, I don't think you were on that podcast episode, but me and Eric were kind of making fun of it a little bit. And there was a couple people that reached out and said, I really liked Cat Quest 1. I'm really looking forward to Cat Quest 2. Like, apparently, like, this is a game that, like, people really like. Like, this, like, people are really looking forward to this game.
Well, it's getting a sequel, so must have been at least somewhat successful, right?
Yeah. But you're a cat, and you, I don't know, you explore dungeons, and there's towns, and there's an overworld, which I'm a fan of, and it's an action RPG, and you're a cat. You're going on a quest. I don't know.
I see it's 2-player. It looks like something I'd enjoy playing with a friend, but probably not by myself.
Right.
Yeah, it's got co-op gameplay, it looks like.
Yeah.
This one, I think, is also out on Steam, right?
Right. So this is one of the games where I was saying you can find elsewhere. This isn't exclusive to Apple Arcade. So, you know, but it is available on the platform if that's what you want to choose. And so it's kind of cool. And then the last one here. Now, this game, I saw the trailer for this and I almost just like immediately wanted to go on Amazon and buy an Apple device because this game looked amazing. It's called Atone, Heart of the Elder Tree. And let me see. Put some of the music on here. Hopefully it doesn't get us flagged here, but it's got such a unique art style to it and like such a unique concept that like, I don't know, like this is just like really, really cool. Like I really dig these styles of games. But it's one of those games that kind of looks like Hyper Light Drifter. Obviously it's got its own style to it, but it's really, really unique and just different. So I'm really interested to check this game out, and I'm kind of disappointed that this is an Apple release. But when I see games like this, I'm like, this is something that would attract me to when my phone contract is up. You know, going out there and saying, okay, I have an Android device now. I've had Android forever. Why don't I just give this iPhone a chance and I can get in on this Apple Arcade and like play games like this. I mean, this looks sick. So
yeah, it looks good.
Yeah.
The gameplay in particular looks really interesting. It kind of looks like it takes inspiration from Guitar Hero.
Yeah, let me get some of that up there. That's kind of one aspect that surprised me. I thought it was going to be more traditional like action RPG, but yeah, it is kind of like a more like rhythmic based, which is a little bit different here. Let me see if I can find a good spot for where we can see something like that. Okay, so like right here on the screen around 34 seconds or so, you see where it's got kind of like a timing based system. And apparently these two characters are kind of like duking it out here. So it's a little bit different for sure, but it seemed like it had a really cool art aesthetic, a really cool story idea. Anyways, I don't want to say story idea, premise. Anyways, you guys will have to go check out the trailer because it's kind of a wacky idea. I don't want to butcher it, but it's just really unique looking. So I'm always excited to play games that try something new.
For sure.
Yeah. But anyways, so those are the RPGs that we saw there in the initial lineup. There's about 71 games. Now you'll be able to go and get that, and then they're supposed to be adding 30 more games in the next 2 or 3 months. But for $5 a month,
Pretty good.
yeah, and apparently you're not streaming the games. Like they let you download the game. So I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
I would say, if give it a shot, 1 month. Well, I don't know if they force you to have like several months or if you can just do 1 month and cancel at any time. But if nothing else, maybe check out the the Bravely Default team game, the various day life, right? Might be worth it. Just $5, try it out, and then dabble in some other games. You could just and then cancel, right?
yeah. Rim brings up an interesting point. Says, I just don't like the idea of a subscription service personally. Don't like the idea of gaming going that direction. I worry the future more companies may go that path. We kind of addressed that earlier. Then
Hmm.
saying renting instead of owning. And I kind of never thought about it like that. But when I was a kid, I used to rent games at Blockbuster like every Friday. Like that was my routine. Like I would rent a game and then I would play it over the weekend and then, I'd have to return it on Monday. And that probably cost, I can't remember, like $5 or $6 or $7, you know? And
Hmm.
so if I was lucky, my mom would let me get like 2 games, right?
Mm.
That way in case I got a dud. And so kinda looking at it through that lens, like, I know that's not the direction Rim was taking it, but it is kinda like renting a subscription service. Like, you pay $5 a month, you can check the game out, you don't own it, but, you know,
Hmm.
Well, you get it
so
for a significantly longer amount of time than something like Blockbuster, so that's a plus.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I don't know, renting a game with no microtransactions versus getting a game for free that has microtransactions. I
Yeah,
kind of feel like if you're really going to get into a game, like because you can download a free game that has microtransactions and ignore them and just play it casually. But if you try to really get into those games, then you kind of get towards harder levels or the end game content, and then that's when they really gouge you, right? When they know you're already invested in the game. You've put X number of hours in there, and it's like, oh, you got used to a certain level of progress. Well, now to keep going at that pace, pay up, basically, right? Or just
yeah.
grind out these contents for dozens and dozens of hours, or pay right now, and it'll speed up your progress or something.
See,
All kinds of strategies like that. I'd almost rather play that game and pay like $5 to $10, but if it was a smooth experience throughout the whole game with no microtransactions having to be inserted in there,
yeah.
even if that meant I was essentially only renting the game through a subscription.
So,
So,
like, I remember when, like, this whole, like, microtransaction deal started, right? So, like, for me, like, the first time, like, I used to get really upset when, like, every game tried to be an MMO, right? Where you like and I was, like, so upset at this idea that I had to pay money monthly to play a game. Like, I just thought that was outrageous, right? But
hmm,
then, like, I started seeing these games pop up, and they're like, "Oh, free to play," and this wasn't on smartphones, this was on, like, PC, right? Where it was kinda like on, like, Facebook type things where, like, okay, you can play the game for free, you don't have to pay anything, and it's kinda strategic, but if you wanna pay a dollar, you can, right? But it wasn't a big deal, and I thought like, "Oh, that's reasonable, like, it's a free game, they're not making money. Okay, if I want some extra gems, like, right now, okay, fine, I'll pay." But, like, the games weren't made with that in mind, it was just, like,
hmm,
something that was, like, extra. Where, like, they crossed the line with me is when they started making them and they were, like, designing them for you to spend money, like, that was, like, the only way for you to enjoy the game really was to just spend money, right? That
right.
became the problem, so
Well,
I
because they just sorry,
No,
but
go
they
ahead.
discovered that a certain percentage of people will essentially get addicted to the game and have to spend money, right? And that's a very small percentage of the people, maybe probably less than 5%.
Yeah.
But those
But it's
people,
on that less than 5% they make all their money on.
yeah, those few people will pour hundreds and hundreds of dollars into the
Yep.
game, and because of that, they have to design the game in such a way to extract money from people, essentially.
Well, yeah, exactly. I don't know if y'all saw it, but did y'all check out Final Fantasy Peasants review Final Fantasy A New Empire or whatever, that mobile Final Fantasy 15 A New Empire mobile game?
I did
Mm,
not.
I don't. If I did, I don't remember.
So apparently they reached out to him and they were going to pay him like $3,000 to review the game and like talk about it. And
Oh.
he was going to do it and he was doing it. And then like he started playing the game and he ended up rejecting the money because he realized it was just like a cash grab. Like, it was just microtransaction filled, right? But
Hmm.
one of the things that changed his mind about like taking that deal, because they wanted him to make it like a real positive review, basically. Like they had to leave the line in there that, oh, tell us what you honestly think. But like it was clearly like they wanted him to like really push it to his audience, right?
Right.
And the thing that changed his mind was he was talking to someone apparently that was also playing the game, and that person spent $900 in like a single day, right? And they
Yeah.
had like a leaderboard, and this person's name was only like 12th on the leaderboard after spending $900. And it was
Wow.
like a resource collection game, right? So this person
Mm.
spent $900 and they still were not number one on the list. And then like 6 hours later, that person was like 800th, right? And like he was just like, dude, this is just pure like, this isn't a game. This is a casino, right?
Right.
So yeah, exactly. There's that like 2 to 3% that are going to spend like a fortune. So like Apple Arcade, like at least trying this business model, yeah, I prefer to buy the game outright, but at the very least,
It's a step up.
yeah, it's a step in the right direction for
For
sure.
mobile
And
gaming.
yeah, and they're not
Yeah.
streaming the game; they're at least letting you download the game. So,
Mm.
you know, anyways. So y'all can go check it out. I think right now certain games are kind of limited. You can't play all of them on your iPhone right now, but they have a release schedule you can go check out, and all of them are supposed to come to all the various Apple platforms over the next month or so. But uh, right now you can go play a lot of these games. So check it out if you're interested. Let us know if you do, if you enjoy it, if you found enjoyment out of getting to play all these different games for, $5. And yeah, I'd be interested to hear from y'all if you're able to check that out. But moving on to our last topic here, Decoy Manta on Discord asks a great question. Says, have you guys ever liked a game a lot as a kid and then gone back to it as an adult and realized it kind of sucked? So what do you guys got? Has this ever occurred, or has nostalgia always rang true? You've always you've always gone back to that timeless classic that spent so many weekends as a kid, and it was every bit as good as it was when you were a kid.
For this particular, I thought about this one for a long time, and I could not think of anything like you said. Nostalgia is a powerful thing.
Yeah,
Like I just can't bring myself to take a game that I loved so much as a kid and then like see all of its flaws. Um, so yeah, I don't have anything honestly.
yeah. Stan, what about you?
I have a couple, but they're not really games that I treasured or thought were like amazing when they came out. A
Well,
game that I
the
liked a lot
yeah, go ahead.
I kind of, I guess I kind of am wiggling around the question here, but there are some games that I liked a lot as a kid, but I knew they weren't great, right? Like, I think I said on either the last podcast or maybe a few back, I actually played Bubsy on the SNES, like as a kid when it was out, and like now that is notoriously known as like one of the worst SNES platformers
Yeah.
ever. But when I was a 6-year-old kid just playing a game and not even being that good at video games, I
Hmm.
had fun, jumping around as the little cat and and trying not to die, which was actually really difficult in that game.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think I even held that game up back then as like a really great SNES game because we had Super Mario and Final Fantasy 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not the real Final Fantasy 2, but actually 4.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so there was plenty of games like that which I had fun with that I knew were probably mediocre though, and I enjoyed them probably more than they deserved. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I did think of one though. I think Hat, you've mentioned this one before. The Bouncer on PS2.
Yeah.
You remember
That
that game?
dude, that was gonna be one of the ones I was gonna say.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I don't remember exactly when that game came out, but I remember I got like I saved up my allowance for a long time,
Hmm.
and I got a PlayStation 2 basically when it launched. Like, and I was like the cool kid at school, right? I was the only one that had one, and like it was I was like woohoo, but I didn't have any money for games, right? The
Hmm.
only game I had was like Dynasty Warriors, I think, and like this other game like called X Squad or something. I don't know. They're okay for the time, but graphically, it was a huge leap up from the PlayStation. But one of the first games I got was the Bouncer, and because I saw that Square worked on it, and I
Hmm.
thought like, oh, it's got to be amazing because at that point in time, every game I had ever bought by Square was just like phenomenal, right? So
Yeah.
I got this game and I thought it was amazing. Like I thought this is a great game. This has a story. Like the character kind of the one of the characters kind of looks like Zell from Final Fantasy VIII, right?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
He's got like the little horns on his head or whatever. But like I was like, it's got voice acting. Like it's like I can replay the game. I remember I like to replay the game over and over again. And like I would like level up my characters more and it would get easier and easier. And like I thought it was like just like, wow, this is a great game. Like like do people not realize the bouncer is like such a like timeless classic, right? And then like I didn't play it again forever. Like I ended up lending it to someone and he didn't give it back. Like and I thought like that was more like confirmation of how great this game was. Like somebody actually stole it, right? So like I don't know. And then like over time, like I like heard people talking about this game and how terrible it was. And then I went back and like I like played some later and I was just like, dude, these story cutscenes are so freaking cringy.
They're
Like
really bad. Yeah.
yeah, there's like delay a lot of times with like the battles and like it's the gameplay is just kind of like sloppy and it's not very good. It's
Yeah. I was kind of in a similar camp, although um, I rented the game a couple times before I bought it, and yeah, I thought like, oh, like the the story is like very, it's pretty absurd and kind of like B level action movie, right? Like it's
well,
a damsel in distress story essentially that drags on for like 8 hours or
yeah, like it's
probably
like
less,
these
but
bouncers at a bar, right? And then like I'm trying to remember exactly, but then like his girlfriend gets abducted by like the government
by a
or
bunch of ninjas.
ninjas or something with the government. And
Yeah,
like you're like a bunch of bouncers are like, we gotta go save her. And it's just
yeah.
like,
And somehow
what?
you go from that to the end of the game, you end up like in outer space or something, or like
Yeah,
you go
like
up to like a giant satellite of some kind.
you go from like checking IDs at the door to like saving the world. It's kind of stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, but you could look at it as kind of like a so bad it's good kind of
Yeah. Like,
story. You're more laughing at it than being taken along for the ride. But I thought like the gameplay was good, like really good, like when I first played it. And it's because I think it's because I was really a fan of the side-scrolling beat 'em ups,
right.
kind of like those old arcade games, like I don't know if you remember like the X-Men game or like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, like Turtles in Time,
Hmm.
the side-scrolling game
Yeah.
where it's just like enemies are coming at you and you're beating them up and throwing them off the edge of the level and stuff. And
Hmm.
so the game really gave me that vibe, but like in 3D for the first time. That was like the first kind of 3D brawler game I had played. So just by that fact alone, I thought like I was playing some amazing gameplay with a story that was just like very silly and kind of dumb, right? But I thought
So you,
surely this gameplay will be remembered, like stand the test of time, you know.
It stood the test of time, apparently.
Well, yeah.
For different reasons.
Yeah, then when I actually bought the game several years later and played through it again, I was like, no, like the characters, like most moves like knock you down onto the ground, and then they have like ragdoll physics where if you get kicked while you're on the ground, you not only take damage from the kick, but if you hit another character, like both of the characters take damage,
Yeah.
and then they can like be pushed away and hit two other characters, you know, and so
Yeah.
you just get like this from one kick, you like your guy like ends up like skirting across the ground, like hitting like three other guys or something. Like,
Yeah, it was just a mess, dude. It just it was not, it was just not a highlight. The thing is, like, at that point in time, like, I didn't have a lot of games to play, so I think, like, between Dynasty Warriors 2, X Squad, and the Bouncer, like, I don't know. I feel like that didn't seem so bad to me. Like, it was just like, okay, this is this is this is this is pretty good, you know?
yeah.
But I remember apparently I haven't played this game in forever, but on the PS2, Bounty Hunter, right? The Star Wars game. Did you ever play that?
Um,
Either of you, Bounty Hunter?
Sounds
is
familiar.
this for PS2?
PS2, yeah.
No, I remember playing Shadows of the Empire on the N64.
Okay.
That was another one that I thought was like a really good
Terrible.
game,
Oh,
but
good, but it ended up not being
it
good.
actually is not that great. I don't know if it's as bad as the Bouncer is, but yeah,
Well,
My
what?
Star Wars game on the PS2 was Battlefront 2, but that was a good game.
that was a good game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to, because I was just curious if y'all had played this game because I remember when I was a kid, I played the crap out of a bounty hunter, right? And like I like basically you were a bounty hunter, right? You had like every level you had to go run around in these like Star Wars type worlds and you had like a jetpack and like you had these like two like laser pistols and you would have to go like hunt something down, right? And that would like end the mission or whatever. And dude, I played the crap out of this game. I thought it was great. And I haven't played it since then, but I've seen it appear on like lots of like worst PS2 games ever lists. It makes me think like, Jesus, I was kind of stupid back then. Like I had really poor taste. Like I don't know, apparently, but yeah, that was a game. But I haven't played it since then, so I might still like it. I don't know, but
Yeah,
um,
there are definitely a lot of games that I feel like I really liked, and now I like them less, right? Or
right,
some mediocre games that I liked and kind of but knew they were not great, and then also those are like even worse than I suspected. But I couldn't really think of an example very well for the exact question, which is something you like considered like really really great,
yeah.
and then it turned out to be trash. You know,
I
I have all kinds of games that like have taken a couple steps down, but nothing that's gone like from the very top all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah, I can think of one other game for sure that I know is not really highly regarded. Did you guys play on the PlayStation? It was that Final Fantasy fighter. It was called Airgees God Bless the Ring.
Oh, I have heard of it, but I've never played it.
I
Okay,
have not.
so it's got like a fighter part of it, kind of like a like a Tekken game or something. Um,
Hmm.
but it's with Final Fantasy characters, right? And they got some of their own characters in there as well. And then it's got an RPG mode in it as well. And I didn't really play the fighter version too much. Like I kind of played with it a little bit, but I was more attracted to the RPG version. And
Hmm.
basically it was just like you appear in this town, you're an archaeologist, and there's these like ruins that you're trying to investigate. And it's just a dungeon crawler, right? You just have to go into the dungeon and get as deep as you can. And there's all these floors and like the doors close if you hit these traps and like it's crazy. You can get these dragon wings and it'll like warp you back to town. And it's just this big gaming loop of like trying to buy new uh new and better armor. And it's got magic they call, I think, materia in there, and it looks like materia. that you can equip, and there's like all these like little references to like Final Fantasy games. For example, like at the end where you have to rest to, recoup your HP. Like there's a picture on the wall. If you look at it, it says there's somebody with spiky hair and a big sword. Like obviously, that's Cloud, right?
Yeah.
So like, so I just thought this was like such a great game, and like I would just spend hours trying to get to the bottom of this dungeon. And like I still have these memories of like playing with my cousin, and like he ended up buying the game himself, and we would like just play this game, this dungeon mode, like nonstop. Like even recently I went back to like a family reunion and he popped the game out. We played it again, and like we still had a lot of fun with it. But like I've seen so many people talk about that game and like the crappy dungeon mode, like, and there is a lot of lazy stuff with it. Like it uses like Xenogears music. Like it doesn't even have its own soundtrack. It just uses Xenogears music, which I played that game before Xenogears. So like the town theme, like when I heard that playing Xenogears, I was just like, oh, they copied this game. But no, it was the other way around, right? But like it's not particularly a unique dungeon crawler at all. There's much better dungeon crawler games, but I didn't know any better, and I don't know.
At
Now
least
I
it was good music because the music in Xenogears is amazing.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's kind of like if you ever played like if you just downloaded like a free like RPG Maker game like back in the day, like you'd boot it up and it would be like playing like some like Chrono Trigger music or something, and like you didn't know at the time or something, right? You're
Yeah.
just like, man, this game sucks, but it has amazing music, right? You're just like, this is just wow. Like they should just do this, It's kind of like that, yeah. So, but that's all I can think of off the top of my head of games that I used to like, but I guess I still kind of like that one, but I do recognize its faults for sure. So, yeah, is what it is. But yeah, I think we ran out of topics, guys. So I think that's about all we're gonna have for this podcast. But do want to give a big shout out again to Lane and just say thank you for coming on the podcast and sharing your thoughts with us today. Make sure you
Thanks for
go.
having me, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
It's fun.
It's been it's been a good discussion. Your channel again. Do you want to spell it out for everyone so they can go and subscribe and check it out?
Yeah, so it's Hemi Dodge 426, HEMIDODGE 426.
Cool. And I'll leave a link in the description as well. If you don't want to try to remember that, you can click on the link and go there and check it out. And I guess other than that, we'll see you all next week. So thanks, guys.
See ya.
Cool.
See ya.
Yeah.